What's up YouTube, this is FJ. Thought I'd try something a little bit nicer today and come to the waterfront to record this video. I don't know if you can see with the water behind me. It's pretty loud, windy, really no place to sit. I have brought a tripod and everything. But I guess instead I'm just gonna go for a walk. It's a nice day. So yeah, the title of this video, why I will never go back to dating apps. Why I won't go back on dating apps. Now, I guess a little bit of backstory so you know where I'm coming from. I am, I guess, what you would call a relationship guy. I've been in long-term relationships for most of the recent years. To be specific, I think in the last 15 years, I've only been single for like 2 or so. I had like a 4-year relationship, a 7-year relationship, and then after that is when I guess this whole dating app world really started. I started a couple years ago. You know, being single again now, it's something that's on my mind, but I've pretty much avoided and decided that I don't want to go back. So why? Being a relationship guy, you know, I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic, I'm optimistic, and actually I know a handful of people who have met their significant other and even married their significant other from these apps. So I know it's still possible. There's still a slim chance that you know, that kind of good can happen. But I guess I've experienced a mixture of things. 2 years ago, I started Tinder, and then I went on OKCupid, Plenty of Fish, Bumble, Hinge, Zoosk, Match, eHarmony, Happn. I think at one point I tried like 13 apps at once, just to be efficient, you know, maximize your efficiency so you could get your profile on all these different places. You end up seeing actually a lot of familiar faces all across these different platforms, so it's pretty funny. First, to talk about the experience that I had in the last couple years when I did use it. Realize that there's like 3 phases of users on these apps. And bear in mind, I am a male, so I only have that kind of perspective. I can't really speak for the female experience besides what my friends have told me. In the beginning, when I went on these apps, I was extremely hopeful and optimistic. And of course, I am a hopeless romantic, so I put a lot of effort doing the swiping thing, so that was cool with Tinder. But, you know, you don't really hear back right away. So that's when I started trying the other apps like OKCupid and Plenty of Fish, because there's a lot more dialogue involved. I could send messages without having to get a like or a swipe. So I thought, okay, I could use my charm. At least I could write a message. Well, obviously I would go through the photos first and I guess select the ones I like. And then I would read through the profile. And then I would try to actually write something that pertained to everything that person wrote. So if it was a long profile, I'd probably put a lot of effort and try to touch base on a bunch of things they wrote. And, you know, you end up spending a bit more time on a message like that. You know, you wait for a response and you don't get one. So I was like, well, that kind of sucks. Spent all that time trying to like write something nice. Of course, I was new, so this is like the first time I've ever done that. So I tried a couple more times, same result. You don't hear back. You don't know the norms yet in these apps. So like I didn't know that, you know, if you write too much on your first message, you come off as if you're trying too hard or you're desperate. See, so like new people don't know that. That's phase 1, when you are very hopeful. You put a lot of effort into your profile. You talk a lot about yourself, about your beliefs and what you're looking for and who you are, what you hope to find. It really shows like in those messages how much effort you put into it. So that's phase 1. The more you use these apps, you realize you move into phase 2. You start to not put so much effort into your messages, and it becomes more of a numbers game. It's not even about like what you're looking for and what you hope to find out about a person. And you even see these profiles too. These are phase 2 profiles that you come across in these apps. You start reading a lot of what they're not looking for. So instead of a list of things they want, it's a list of things they don't want. Like a checklist of like, if you're this, don't message me. You know, don't message me if you do this. Don't message me if you're shorter than this. It becomes more of a numbers game. I guess you become less picky. You quote unquote lower your standards and you start being more open to a variety of personalities, which is good. I mean, getting to this point too, you meet a lot of cool people. You meet some weird people, some crazy people sometimes, but actually a lot of these people I've met on these apps have become my friends and we're still friends. So that's kind of cool. I don't know, maybe it's me though. Maybe I'm too nice and I get friend zoned. Who knows? That's fine with me. It's okay. But that's phase 2. It becomes more of a, like I said, a checklist of things they're not looking for. And then they're a little bit more open to trying things out. And then phase 3, you just don't care anymore. If you've already written a profile, you might even just completely delete it and have a really short profile with very little information about you. You get so jaded by the experience from phases 1 and phase 2 and not being successful in finding somebody that you just don't care anymore, and it becomes a very passive app for you. So that's just like the experience that I've come across and what I've observed too of other profiles that I've seen. Phase 1, you're hopeful. Phase 2, things you don't want in a partner. And then phase 3, you just don't care anymore. This is why I feel like I don't want to go back. Sure, I've met some cool people, I've made some friends, and it was a learning experience for me. And don't get me wrong, I still think it is very possible to find somebody special in these apps. And I do hope you do, if you still use them. But what I didn't like is the fact that I've noticed myself even changing as I was using the apps. Like, I like to think I'm an honest, caring person. I am looking for someone special for a long term, eventually settling down, getting married, and having a family. I mean, that's what ultimately I believe these apps were for. Sure, it's a little different now. In the last little bit, it's become more of a social thing. Like, that's what dating is now. You don't go to bars and just try to pick up people. It's just so convenient for you to just go online and do the same thing. And you have the same conversations, same introductions. You just determine if it's safe, and then you meet up. That's totally fine. But what I didn't like about it was how my mindset slowly changed the more I used it. Like I said, from phase 1, I was optimistic, objective, motivated, and I wanted to find someone special. And then phase 2, quote unquote, the standard kind of lowered, and you become less picky, which I think is good. It means you have more of an open mind. But because it became more of a numbers game, it just didn't feel as genuine anymore. It's built into the system. It's even in the name, plenty of fish. So what happens is, let's say you come across somebody, potential, and you start messaging and you show interest and they show interest in you too. Everything's great, but you're on these apps, and because you haven't established exclusivity yet, or you haven't established an actual relationship, you're still on the apps while you're talking to this person, while you're technically interested in this person. Because of that, I found like the effort to try and make things work diminishes quite a bit. You show interest in this person shows interest in you, and things are going well, but then you hit a bump or you hit an obstacle, and the mindset, as opposed to trying to work it out and try to put effort in fixing whatever is the issue, it's a lot easier to just resort to the saying, well, there's plenty of other fish in the sea. So you just go back on the apps and you give up. Right from the get-go, you're kind of establishing a very low effort into the relationship. You're not trying as hard as maybe you would have had you not had this mindset that you could always just on to the next one, find the next one. So I don't know if that makes much sense to you guys. You go into an app hoping to find someone, and then you find someone, and then there may be a shortcoming, maybe a small issue, or maybe it's a big issue. And now what you kind of want to establish, if this is someone you care about and they care about you, is the effort in making it work. I do think, like, ultimately in any relationship, what keeps people together is effort. You could be madly in love, but really, if you guys just stop trying, it's not going to last. And that's what these apps let you feel, that it's okay, because there's always something else to fall back on. There's more out there. It sort of demoralizes you a little bit. Maybe it takes away from some of your core values and relationships because it's just so easy. That's why I'm trying to avoid it, at least for now. I say never, but at least for now. I would rather meet someone, what you will hear now is organically, in person. Right from the get-go, you get to read their body language, you get to communicate, you get to talk to them. It just feels a lot more genuine. One thing I did want to say, for those who still want to use the apps, because I went from the guy who read everything in the profile and tried to reference everything in his message, his first message, to show effort. I realized, and this was with the help of one of my friends too, a female user, and she said, you know, it doesn't matter what you write in your first message. If that person shows interest in you, like sees your profile or thinks you're attractive, they'll respond. It doesn't matter what you write. So having realized that, the most successful initial message, the highest success rate in response was, hey, how are you doing? Simple. Hey, how are you doing? I just ended up using that the most, and I used it a lot more because obviously I reached phase 2, maybe even phase 3. Now, I may have gotten more responses from, hey, how are you doing? But it's probably because it was a lot easier to send that to so many people. You'll hear different people say, it's nice when you get a little bit more effort in a message, or it's nice when you show something a little bit more original, not just a copy and paste message. That's true, but when you're a guy using these apps versus a girl using these apps, it's a different kind of numbers game. So a girl has to filter through hundreds, maybe thousands of messages to just find someone that they may be interested in, whereas a guy has to send maybe dozens, hundreds of messages in hopes to just hear back from a couple of them. What do you guys think? If you guys have any experiences, or if you noticed that you went through these changes too while you were using them, comment below. Let me know what happened. And if it's a good story, if it's a bad story, horror story. Like I said, I met a lot of cool people, a lot of great people who are still my friends, and I have come across some crazy people too. Probably some of them think I'm crazy. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you have any input or advice or insight on this, by all means, feel free to comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks, YouTube. See you later.